Hello, this is Will Harold, the Energy Hunter with Akashic Intelligence, the original AI, Thunderbird on the Rogue, and Eagle Medicine Ranch. Today I'm going to introduce a new program, another program, but as some of you may be aware, I've been experiencing quite the download from Spirit and from the Akasha, which I didn't realize I was going to do. About 5 weeks ago, I went on a journey. I would call it a shamanic journey, maybe. Maybe we call it a hero's journey. Maybe we'll call it many things. But that put me in the hospital. And if you watch some of the previous videos that I recorded earlier, there's some more interesting information on all of that. And I will continue to actually make new videos on some of that information also. That's right now. This is a very Russellian, Walter Russell type of download where I actually began getting lots and lots of information regarding different aspects. And a lot of it has to do with my work that I've done with all my different channels. Each channel has its own emphasis. Eagle Medicine's about being unplugged on the land with a lot of elemental influence and a lot of druidic influence, to where Thunderbird on the Rogue is on the Rogue River, and it is more of a energy of plants and of building and of the land. And then Akashic Intelligence is the overall arching Akashic downloads from spirit, from all kinds of different things that are going on in my life. And as of right now, this new program that I'm introducing is called Negentropy Adept program. And the Negentropy Adept program is really a focus on the Steiner Druidic impulse that we've been talking about. It follows the vein of Steiner so far as we look at how this being of consciousness and not thinking, this is also ties into Walter Russell quite a bit. And I've been told that the people at Music and Sky were discussing a lot of my videos through about watching what I was saying in regard to this, the science and so on. And Walter Russell's a very interesting person in which he really looked at the wave form, the form of the wave, the negative and the positive. So when we talk about the negentropy, we're actually talking about the difference between entropy and negentropy. So entropy is really the idea that all things decay. This has been the prevalent idea in our culture for many, many years. I don't think it was back during the day of, Moses, and I wouldn't say Moses. I'd say probably more like, Melchizedek, things like that, in which people had long lives. They lived a long time. And then as we began to get denser and denser into matter, we began to have entropy. We began to decay, and we began to fall apart. Our bodies we could no longer see that we could actually grow and get younger and do other things. So with negentropy, the idea is that entropy is the spiral of the wave, which is counterclockwise, causes decay. And then negentropy would be the concentration of the wave, the clockwise. And then we talk about, if anybody is not following what I'm talking about, you can watch a lot of my Walter Russell videos, and they'll talk about the waveform, this waveform technology that is going on. It's being very widely discussed right now by Dan Winter also with some of his negentropic concepts and ideas. I really believe that this is the way of the future. I believe that this is the way that we're going to overcome our current situation, to get out of our situation. It is the science of life. You can look at antibiotics, right, which are the science of death, or we can look at biotics, we can look at all those things that cause life. And that's what I'm calling negentropic. And a lot of this has to do with, like I said, the work of Walter Russell. I've been working on this for about 5 years now, but I think it's time to begin to, it's actually been given a name as I got this download. And as I do this, I am going to create programs, and we're going to begin to create more paradigms that will be negentropic. So as I was researching this, I actually found a very, very good video on explaining what this negentropic impulse is. And unlike Russell, which is very difficult to explain. I mean, many people who have watched my videos on Walter Russell, um, and even the people that were in my group, I got a comment once that said, the people that watch your videos don't even know what you're talking about. Whether that be true or not, I really do want to make this information accessible to all. And I think this video that I found will actually help a lot with that. And as we move forward into the next phase of what we're going to talk about, the I kind of wanted to share like what the purpose was, what I'm trying to accomplish. And so this is in the Negentropy program, where we begin to introduce the ideas of an adept or an initiate. And this is talked a lot about. So this would be this kind of growth out of the Steiner work. And Steiner said that, anthroposophy would grow and morph and change as time went on, because what's the number one idea of what I'm trying to accomplish? And that idea, as I began to search my soul, was, to know God. That's what Walter Russell says all men want to do, is to know God. But knowing God is part of what's the purpose? What's the purpose of knowing God? Just to know God? Is it to use it to get more knowing, to understand more, and when you read Steiner, that's not really what we're trying to do. We're not trying to know more, we're trying to intuit more. And he actually says that by using our brains, as Walter Russell says, that actually tires us out. Is it for understanding of the mysteries of the universe? It's kind of funny because in my gene keys, it says that the mysteries of the universe reside in my soul, and all those around me want to know them. Even though those are not the things that really interest me. Or is it just to sit around and contemplate my navel? What is the purpose of what I'm trying to do with all these different programs, works, properties, so on? And for me, it's, as in the last video I did, it's for me to actually have life and life more abundant, just as the Christ said. To see life and have life more abundant all around us. And to have that life with all sentient beings, whether it be planets, elementals, all those kind of things. And how do we do that? We do that through Negentropy. Therefore, I've introduced this new program, which we're going to call Negentropy Adept program. And the program is going to be loosely based on Walter Russell's work. And we're going to look at a lot of things that Steiner talked about, especially in these latest 2 videos that I put out. I didn't put them out. I put them on the website so people could see them. And this was in Dornoch in 1911. And for now, I'm just putting together this brief explanation of what the program is going to be, because there's going to be a lot more information that's going to go into this program. It's going to be more of a formalized program. It may even have some centers in which I kind of develop and build. That's a long way off, and those are grand plans and schemes. But for right now, I'd really like you guys just to watch this attached video that I found and really absorb it, because as we go forward, the ideas and concepts of this Negentropy Adept will help us ascend, it will help us get more centered, and it will be a different approach to our current dilemmas. So please watch the video. Please like and subscribe also, because I'd really like to see and understand that if people are interested in this information that I'm providing. Again, this is Will Harold, the Energy Hunter, the Akashic Intelligence, the original AI. Thank you so much.
We create the entire universe out of nothing, beyond space and time, which we cannot measure while we're in it. The universe can be created and unfolded in an instant, And it all happens outside of a perception which we integrate within our human consciousness. We all share the same photon within us, and that photon is shared among the entire universe. It's not a particle, because a particle implies a portion, and a photon is a quantum form of entropy and reverse entropy simultaneously. It's a disorder that leads to order, and an order that leads to disorder. If you are able to transition your consciousness in this reality from your body through meditation or psychedelics, this becomes very clear that you are absolutely not what you appear to be in physical form. That is only the illusion. What you are is so far beyond that physical form that you absolutely can't fathom it because you are in it. The eye cannot see itself except through some type of reflection, and at that point it is looking at something different than what it actually is because it is being translated through another medium. You are attached to a template which you cling to in your current state of being. Pop out of that state and you instantly see the patterns that you have attached to your limbs, head, torso, internal terrain, etc. Those patterns are filled with memories of experiences in this life, coding in your DNA from your ancestors of who you once were. You've attached to a pattern to create all of these, and they are very precious to you at this time, so you can enjoy this body on this planet. But if you try for even 1 second to separate your consciousness from this body while you are still attached to it, it's something that cannot be explained in words when you come back to it. You can certainly try, but language is not capable of really explaining it. And there are patterns at every stage of human life and the Earth's consciousness itself that are different from the patterns at other stages. Our biology and epigenetic triggers within us guide our behavior across these different stages. We can observe something as complex as individuality and start to break it down to see what a beautifully engineered system it really is. Because the complexity of what is the universe is what is happening within the cells of our individual bodies. There is no difference between those two things except for the size of the system. Variability between individuals is often attributed to epigenetic differences or exposure to different environments and ancestral DNA. That's why one life form or planet within a galaxy may behave very differently from another, because it has its own set of rules it has set up for the consciousness of that system. You have different gravitational waves and forces, physics, and life forms on other planets that are different from our own here on Earth. It's all a reflection of the energy within the system. And within the system, we can see a lack of order or predictability in what we would define as entropic states. But there is also as much the opposite of that, which are negentropic states, which are what we perceive as more order, organization, structure, as we see in the human body. Because the human body is really no more of a negentropic state as is, for example, our star system or our galaxy, because that is all created simultaneously within a specific consciousness that designs it. It's the contrast of entropy and negentropy, which each the other are mutually dependent. So the more solid and dense a reality is, the lower the entropic state, and the less dense and more ethereal an energetic state is, the higher the entropic state. So the greatest state of disorder happens when consciousness is less dense, not more dense, because the particles that create matter itself are observed to be more ordered in density, and that is why science observes entropic states at the most microscopic levels as positive when disorder is high and negative when disorder is low. Human evolution, as we understand it, is largely based on the development of these states within the environmental adaptation in our planet and star system, not just random mutations as we've been led to believe through Darwinian concepts, which are all theory regardless. The Big Bang implodes as much as it explodes. We created the Big Bang as much as it created us. It was entirely based on supporting a dense consciousness that was invited by trillions of planets and galaxies, each one with a unique relationship within that star system. It is ultimately all disorder which births order, and vice versa, depending on the magnifications of the system we are observing. We are simply more complex beings expressing the same consciousness that our bacterial or cellular ancestors were expressing billions of years ago. We just express that consciousness differently from our human form. The genome is not static, and change involves alterations outside of the DNA sequence. So let's apply this to an everyday human. What the human being sees, or has been taught to see, in front of them is that disorder should be ordered. That is the linear mindset. In the quantum realm, they are both the same thing. 1 plus 1 is equal to 2 in a linear system. But 1 plus 1 is equal to 1 in a quantum system that represents a relationship through a very different dynamic that is complementary, reciprocal, unrelated to cause and effect, supported by Newtonian physics. The quantum realm is a place where time and space work very differently from what scientific investigations are capable of interpreting at this time. So, if we want to understand order and disorder more within human populations, it is necessary to embrace how they cooperate with each other to shift a specific consciousness. On the planet right now, we have a very high state of order within the political landscape, social engineering, the military and pharmaceutical industrial complexes. They all are created with very rigid control mechanisms in an attempt to decrease the entropic states, which are rapidly escalating because the consciousness has shifted. The new world, the new shifts in consciousness are highly entropic states, which cannot be reversed at this time. It's a snowball effect. This means as the world attempts to order more, control more, restrict more, censor more, and make everything align with a perceived political and social correctness, it will become inevitably so rigid that a reciprocal consciousness is forming on the other side of this equation, creating more freedom, more flexibility, more laxity, more kindness, more love, more generosity, because it has been invited by the opposite pole. Do you see how beautiful this process is? How it works in tandem to bring you what you have been asking for so long? Because it will all reflect in your life. The way you do things, see things, interpret things, the way you perceive everything you have considered negative, disruptive, uncomfortable, malevolent, evil, has brought an energy to this planet that is going to change everything, and we could not have done it without it being introduced into a system that invited incredible change in advancing our species. You will act more based on observing both order and disorder simultaneously, appreciating its effect on human consciousness, fully embracing the what is rather than what should be, acknowledging the small changes that are creating grand shifts in the way we feel about ourselves and others. It's here. Look no further than the leaders in power around the world and who they represent to see this in action. Order leading to a disorder that will fill your heart with love and compassion and a willingness to observe everything you see as perfect and in complete synchronicity with what you are.